Did CERN break time? That is a question I have been asking myself lately. CERN has never felt like part of my story, a part of the return of the Sistra path that moves with the coherence of time and memory. At least in this life. Until now. The Large Hadron Collider shut down recently, and its 4-year pause to increase the magnets of the machine have been a big topic this past week. The return of the Sistra is a counterpart path to Alkhemia, a path stewarded by Matthias de Stefano. And that path does have a story to tell about CERN and a code as part of their journey. And it's resonated as truth to me of a re-breaking of time, not the origin of it when I've looked into it in the past. So I assumed it wasn't a story or a code that I also held. But with this shutdown's alignment with the timeline of the return of the Sistra, with Alkhemia, with other alignments between now and 2030, I had to sit with the story of CERN more deeply, with the Hadron Collider specifically, and ask myself, why is this not a part of my story? What did the Hadron Collider break exactly? And what part does Alchemy of One, the unified field of Sistra and Alkhemia, energetically play? So I sat down and I asked my higher self, what did the Hadron Collider break? And the response I got back was you. And so, of course, confused, I asked which me? A multidimensional me, the part of me reflected in the earth, the mother matrix that I am extremely connected to. And the answer to that question is really all three of them and more. But my higher self meant all of me. She reminded me of a time in college during my second year that I got suddenly sick with flu-like symptoms, but times 10. My bones felt compressed. My nasal cavity was doing something weird with blood that it really shouldn't have been doing. And the known viral and bacterial tests came back negative. I had to leave school for over a week, I missed exams, and I had weird fugue states where I was pretty sure I was patient zero of the zombie apocalypse, or Edward Cullen with the Spanish flu before he was turned into a vampire. And that was in November of 2009. And after my higher self reminded me of this, she said, now look. So I did at the timeline of the Hadron Collider. November of 2009 is now my opinion when the Hadron Collider was optimized appropriately, when the magnets and dipole field were balanced and fully operational. It was turned on in 2008, but soon after had an accident around the setup creating a magnetic quench, and it had to be shut off. And you'll hear all sorts of things in the psychic space about what the Hadron Collider did to time, what portals it created, what entities it allowed in. And I only really know the periphery of what is said elsewhere, so I can only really speak on what I have received and put together myself. And to explain this, I'm going to be using analogies in physics of dipoles and monopoles, which I speak about elsewhere in regards to the missing ion, your bioenergetic field, and Earth's field, as well as computer science analogies of code sequencing and programming. And these probably are not 100% accurate, but the analogies that I was internally guided to explore to represent holographic realities well, and they make sense to me. So in previous videos, I've explained my perspective on Earth's energetic field, her true matrix, and that the way time moves is intentionally a strict looping system or waves of return I call mirror time, where unresolved tension, conflicts, or toxins are looping until we bring awareness to them, cohere, and close the loop. This is what some call samsara or karma. It only exists on Earth. It's part of Earth's purpose to cohere her own field, alchemize an overabundance of toxic energy that was destroying the wider web of all. And this is formed through a negatively charged monopole, where all the energy is moving back towards the Earth, looping time. Everything is pulled back in. You can also think of this as Metatron's broken cube. You see, the cube itself is not Metatron, but the form that holds his light. Metatron is the sequence, the structure of time. If the cube is broken, then the sequence loops on repeat. In computer science, if a program hits a broken line of code, it gets stuck in an infinite loop. So the cube may be broken, but it is also veiled by false light, fear and congestion of time on repeat, which means that beyond the veil, an evolutionary wave is still building, still becoming beyond, but it can't physically manifest through the density of the shadow, or it is slow and sludging to take form. So, in other words, we have shifts, creation, time expanding beyond the veil that we can't see or embody within the veil. Okay, are you with me? So this is foundational to what I'm going to explain next, about what I've seen about the Hadron Collider. I'm not a scientist, and this is interpretive. It's not a concrete model. And it goes back to electromagnetism, molecular physics, and dipoles and monopoles. The Hadron Collider's field is a superconductive dipole. The tunnels of the machine have 10,000 magnets, 1,232 dipole magnets. When the machine is operating, it is the conductive dipole field that they are increasing and expanding. Earth, you can see her as a very large monopole. And what happens when there is a superconductive dipole operating within a monopole? Well, at first, the larger monopole would create a torsion field to align the dipole to its internal alignment and axis. But if, like the Hadron Collider, the dipole is forced to remain a stable and coherent dipole operating a specific polar alignment, well, you can break time. Or at least that is how it has been perceived. And here's what would happen in that large monopole scenario with a superconductive dipole field within it. If this strongly charged dipole is forced to resist alignment with the monopole field, it becomes a localized space-time engine in a tug-of-war battle with the field it inhabits. It creates gravitational waves that move outward, drags space-time into a vortex around its dipole, and if it moves lightning fast, it creates torque that warps time and space around it. The electrical tension between the dipole and monopole pierces the void and breaks. It will bleed particle pairs into existence. And can I say this is what is happening with the Hadron Collider? No. But I was shown this, that it is the operation of the machine, not the nature of the experiments, that create what we see as an energetic portal piercing the veil, piercing the false light field, causing it to bleed through, and rupturing the true mother matrix as soon as the machine was in operation. So this field broke the true matrix in the surrounding area above and below. It created a disturbance, distortion, and perception shifts of space-time. In a holographic reality, in mirror time, it broke the mirror, so to speak, without releasing it, and those shards of the mirror appeared in our physical reality. It created pixels of information packets of reality that were out of time to fall, meaning that they were not in the conductive and magnetic field created through the natural rhythm and tension of our lived choices, and these fell into existence. Or potentials running in the background that were unmanifested were moved into physical perception. It distorted the timing of how we perceive reality, dragged things out, sped things up, misplaced them, smearing our perceptions. Our perceptions rely on electromagnetic fields. If the electromagnetic field we live in is corrupted, we begin to perceive the corrupted data. Not solely a timeline shift, not moving to another dimension, but mass glitches in a highly looping sequence of time. Because the Hadron Collider was created and enforced before Earth's field could hold it and support it, not because it's wrong. And it didn't start in 2012 with the discovery of the Higgs field or the God particle. It started in 2009. But every time the field is optimized to increase its capacity, it reaches a little farther, distorting a bit more. It's like standing on a digital ship whose whole is being torn apart by a superconducting dipole, watching the very code of our reality pixelate, detach, smearing trails of time, and then falling into the abyss. And if you're like me and have a field that is a counter rhythm, or what I call a lunar-led aura field, late 2009 may have felt like it broke you. Because we hold and are innately connected to the rhythm of the mother field of Earth and its coherence. And when she ruptured in 2009, so did we, because it created an energetic ripple that derailed our field and timeline and put immense pressure on our own polar mechanics that would in physics be described as attempted annihilation. Obviously, I was not annihilated. This is a metaphor. But there was a torsion and projection on our field and a shattering that for me expressed a very awful flu-like virus that I was sure would turn me into a zombie. It suppressed the mother field more, the lunar fields more. We slowed down from where we planned to be on our timeline. But because we slowed down, the solar-led field, the solar-led auras, the activators, sped up. They jumped timelines. They compensated where we broke to protect, to restructure, to realign and awaken what needed to be seen. So the timeline did shift, but not solely because of the Hadron Collider, but because everything rearranged around what broke. And here's the part we play now. If the large monopole field, in this case Earth, shifts, settles, and balances into a coherent dipole, the smaller superconductor dipole is not an issue. It's actually rather a cosmic balance. The tug-of-war nature harmonizes into a structured containment and cyclical equilibrium, where there's no matter bleed, no more rifts in space-time, but a coherent braid. That machine is held in its own local bubble of rhythm with the larger dipole, a self-contained rhythmic engine supported by the larger field. In this metaphor of dipoles and monopoles, computer sequencing and subterfuge, Alkhemia and Sistra, and many other paths that are bridging heaven and earth, returning to the natural rhythm of Earth and aligning body, heart, and mind in embodied coherence over the next 4 years, are working to restore the balance of our own fields, but also the field of the Earth and the All, to a coherent dipole field, a balanced state of north and south, with the mediation between them, the correct mandala, or circle instead of the wandering labyrinth. So that when a superconductive dipole turns back on, it is held within this coherent field. Instead of moving forward at a rate we can't perceive, or reaching too far and expanding the rift beyond what our mind, bodies, and heart can navigate. So what I thought wasn't a part of my story in this life was actually the moment of my biggest breaking and derailment. And now is the time for many of us to call back and restore the timelines we had written into coherent expression.